Kick and chase by Mullins. Kick and chase again by Mullins. It'll be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
Hodges' kick is over the sideline for a 40-20.
Yeah, g'day champions and welcome to 40-20 Sports. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a buy, hold, sell sort of thing. I'm going to do a bit more of an in-depth buy, hold, sell. When you do a buy, hold, sell, you usually only rattle off 2 or 3 players and then you end up getting 1,000 questions. So I'm going to have a bit of an in-depth look. I'm going to run through a lot of the break-evens, see who's good value, see who I think is a bit of an avoid. Before we get into that, our league code is 726638. I know I'm harping on about it, but it's an awesome way to get a bit of a community around us. Go onto our Instagram. We give a bit of a shout out to who's winning that each week, and we'll be doing some prizes throughout the year. We've got a stack of shirts coming. They're on their way. In that bundle, if you win the 40-20 league, you get shirts, stickers, hats, but we're going to do a few prize giveaways. We've got a bit of stuff coming in now, so please jump onto that. Jump onto our Instagram, and we'll get straight into it. Look, a lot of this is dependent on how your team is. So that's why I want to go through a bit of an in-depth look at some of these players, their break-evens and such. But do not be nervous about selling a gun at this stage. Like, sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes you think, yep, I'm so keen on this bloke, he's going to go 150, 150, 150 every week. If you can lower that down for a bloke that you don't have those expectations and it makes your team more well-rounded, it's a much better option to do, I feel. There's a lot of people that say, oh, you never sell a gun, you never sell a gun. But if a gun's going to lose you $100,000, sorry, you're mad not to do it. Like, there's so many different instances with so many different teams that you've just got to do what fits your team. And this week, I'm kind of leaning down going that route. But anyway, we'll run through it. We'll start off with our hookers. Look, our only real hooker option for a buy is really Joey Lussick. He's been pretty phenomenal the first 2 weeks. He's sitting at 313k, break even of minus 54. So I think he's a no-brainer. If you want to push Danny Levi and you can do it this week, it's a luxury trade. But if people who started with Danny Levi thinking shit need to jump on Joey Lussick, I think it's a fantastic move. We should run with that. He's averaging 72 points. He's got 143 for the year so far. So I'm all about it. Joey Lussick looks set to get those 80 minutes. Now Brendan Hands is no longer in the side. He's pushed way down to the reserves. So Brad Arthur kept his promise a little bit there. Other than that, though, our hooking spot is pretty bare with the buys. So there's no one that really stands out with an awesome break even. There's no one there that you can really go to make a heap of money. There's Appy Coruscant was there, but he sort of, if you're looking to go Grant to Appy, maybe if Grant's got the buy, I can sort of understand it, but I just think Harry Grant will come good. The other one there that I am pretty interested in, though, is Mitch Kenny. Now, Mitch Kenny got a 55 last week, but the interesting thing is he played 80. Dane Laurie's on the bench. Dane Laurie got nearly next to nothing game time last week against the Eels, so I'm fully expecting Mitch Kenny, if he can play 80, he's 390k. Have another look at him next week. But my goal with Danny Levi is to hopefully this week, I'm so nervous about Danny Levi. I think if he doesn't score a try, he's going to get 12. So I don't want him in my team round 4 because that's when Harry Grant has a bye. So I'll be looking potentially at Mitch Kenny if Joey Lussick is a little bit out of reach and see what happens there. I still could jump on a Joey Lussick next week if he has a blinder and he's set for 3 or 4 more cash rises. So that is one to watch. I think in the hooking position, Joey Lussick is your no-brainer. In the front row forwards, this is in no order either. I'm just running through the break-evens. Davey Mawali, I think he's a pretty good buy. Break-even of minus 17, average of 47 there. But he comes into the starting side. Now, Sean Kepi's gone to the bench. I'm a Sean Kepi owner. I'm thinking of holding Sean Kepi for another week and then downgrading him to someone else the week after. But I think Davey Mawali, he can be a good buy. If you were looking at going a Liam Henry at 238k, he's also a decent buy. He's pretty stock standard. He gets his 35s. Davey Mawali, I think, has got a bit more uptick than Liam Henry. So I'll be looking at Davey Moale if you're looking for a third front rower. If you're looking for just a cash grab, someone to bolster. He's got that 63 in his average. He's 268k, so he is nice and cheap. If you're looking for that guy, he could potentially get 40 to 45 minutes. Sean Kepi got 40 and 41 minutes. So if he steals those minutes, he probably does have an uptick in him. Not looking at him as a starting front rower by any means, but I think he's a pretty good get if you're going to use him as a cash cow. And you've got the money. Instead of going Liam Henry, I'd be going Davey Moale. Terrell May, 430k. I'm chucking him straight in my side. I said last week he was our top buy. This week, again, I think massively our top buy. Last week, I didn't know whether to get rid of Tupanua and Sean Kepi for Terrell May. The obvious one, now that we've had the week, would have been Sean Kepi to Terrell May, but I was actually looking at Tupanua to Terrell May, so I'm glad I didn't run that. I'm glad I left it a week. Now I've got a bit more clarity that I should probably be going Kepi out and Terrell May in. Yeah, 67 average, ended up starting. I know he's named on the bench again, but he could be coming into that side. He played like the first half, no breathers. Getting good minutes there, 55 minutes. Again, they're running that bench of a backup hooker and Angus Crichton, a back rower, comes in. So huge raps for Terrell May. Minus 11 break even. He's a no-brainer. He's going to make us cash no matter what we do. The other one there was Liam Henry. I was I'm unsure if he does get any more minutes than what he has previously got because Fisher Harris has got this injury. Maybe 5 minutes max. Doesn't seem to have a very big attacking upside, but he is a workhorse. So if you've got Liam Henry, that's good. If you're looking to buy him and you can't afford Davey Moale, I'd be pretty happy with it, to be honest. I think that's a pretty good get. If you needed that and that's all you could run, that's all you could afford to run, then happy days. A sneaky one to probably look at. I know he scored a try, but he's decent, is Moses Leota. The news out of Fisher Harris coming out that he's got this shoulder injury, it doesn't look as bad as what it first seems. So Moses Leota, it is a decent buy, but not a fantastic one. I'd be more looking at not going him. But anyway, if people were struggling for options, I think Terrell May is probably the big one. Other than that, there isn't a lot to go on. Ruben Cotter's pretty good, but again, if you didn't start with him, I wouldn't be jumping on. But yeah, that's probably about it for our bloody front row forwards there. For our second row forwards, we've got the one and only, I think, Josh Curran. I think Josh Curran's a fabulous buy. The only issue with Joshy Curran is his minutes. Now, not to say that he's not going to get 55 to 60 minutes every week, but the first couple of weeks there was just a lot of injuries around the Dogs. Falmasili went down with a head knock in the first minute, so he was really good, Joshy Curran. I get a little bit nervous because I'm thinking of trading Josh Curran and Terrell May in, and they've got the orange bloody caution things they're starting on the bench, and I usually like to have my team flooded with green ticks everywhere. But Joshy Curran, 64-point average, minus 8 break even. Look, he just seems to be a slam dunk. Regardless, if he only gets 50 minutes off the bench, I still think he's going to pump out 50 minutes. His work rate's unbelievable. There is a lot of push. I'm hearing of everyone that is going to go him for front row duels, which is awesome because you could be running a Terrell May, Joshy Curran sort of front row duels there. If he gets that, that'll make him 100% a buy, and I think you'll be mad not to jump on him with a 64-point average. Another one there, Morgan Smithies. Now, I know there's a bit of talk. Hoskins will get into him, but Hosking, I don't think he's a sell. I don't think enough people started with him to be a sell. He's more of an avoid now that he goes onto that bench. But yeah, Morgan Smithies I think is a pretty good buy. If you don't have him, probably not up the top of the list of buys, but still I think he's a fantastic buy. He's a 54-point average, minus 9 break even. He's cheap at 345k. Even if Horsburgh comes back, he's been so good, Morgan Smithies. I think he'll still get a starting role at this Canberra Raiders side. So he's one to keep. Joey Chan, if you haven't started with him and you're looking to downgrade someone, he's a good buy, 238k. Got the 80 minutes last week, which is really good to see. Minus 15 break even. He's going to make you a ton of cash. So good to jump on there. One that I will say, Samuel Afinu, I was pretty keen on him in the preseason. Looks the goods for next week. If Tupanua doesn't fire, I will probably move Samuel Afainu in for him, although just keep a bit of an open mind there. He got 60 minutes on the weekend, and that was because of an injury, HIA sort of thing, so he moved out into the back row and had to be played there. Adam Elliott. Now, he's got a -3 break even. He's got 112 in his rolling average. His point per minute is good. It sits about 1.1. Getting 50 minutes a game, I actually don't mind the Adam Elliott move. I think the Knights are in a bit of drama, actually. They don't seem to be clicking as well as they did. Maybe Newcastle's honeydicking us all with getting on this 9-10 game winning streak last year, but they've just settled back into their ways and they just seem to not click. They've been really disappointing at the start of the season. Even against the Cowboys, I know they took the Cowboys to Golden Point, but still, I felt, watching that game, I felt that the Knights should have been up 30-0 at half-time, and then to come out in the second half when they were clearly on top and just let them run over them, a bit disappointing. Talking about that, we've got Kai Pearce-Paul. His break-even is 12. I think he's a buy. Average of 43 points. I still want to see what happens with Dylan Lucas. He's in the reserves. I haven't heard any news of him having an injury, so I doubt that he's going to miss out on this squad at all. He was probably one of their best in the trials, so one to watch, but we'll keep an eye on that. One that's a bit left field is a Victor Radley. He's played 80 minutes both weeks. I don't really understand how Victor Radley's playing 80 minutes and these back rows with Crichton, Su'a-Wong's gone, and Tupanua. They're all fluctuating their minutes, and Victor Radley has kept 80 minutes both games. He's sitting at a 67-point average. I know in the Vegas game he had a blinder, he scored a try, but still, break even is 17. If he can keep 80 minutes, I think he's a decent enough shout. Who else have we got here in the second row forwards? Now, Sean Lane. I think if you don't have him, I'm probably keen to jump on him. 446k. I think everyone's saying about, he only got a 63 or whatever he got against against Penrith, but I think that's impressive, a 63. I know he got a line break and a try, but that combination with Dill Brown, again, people talk about this eye test. If you're going to run the eye test, you've got to keep it consistent. He looked phenomenal, like really, really good. I'm big on him, I think. I think if he's going to get those link runs with Dylan Brown there, I'm pretty keen on him, actually. So I'd be putting him into your squad if you need to. With the halfbacks, now, look, I'm sort of going to run our halfbacks in with our 5/8s because I think the only option, if you didn't start with Hines or Cleary, I think our only real option here is I hate to say it, and I'm glad I started with him, but it's Luke Brooks. 20-point break even. He's got a 70-point average. He's 560k, which I think is decently cheap. He is halfback 5/8 dual. Now that they've got the Roosters out of the road, it's a bit of an up and down road for them with their draw. It's some easy games, some hard games coming in, but he hasn't even really connected with Turbo yet. He's sort of getting these points. He's creating these points on his own. He was lucky to get a try assist last week, I thought, and a line break assist, but still, in the 2 games that he's played, he's been unlucky that he hasn't gone 100. He stepped his toe into the outside the field of play on the white line last week. Could have got another line break and a try, and when he was in Vegas, he dudded himself out of a try, dropped the ball over the line, and Turbo dropping the ball over the line again. He could have gone plus 100. He's obviously not the dominant ball player there for Manly, but what he is doing is quality. He's not afraid to run the footy, which is really good. I think Turbo outside him, Talatau Kula outside him, you saw his speed. Everyone was talking about Dom Young, how quick he is, but that Talatau Kula, he is lightning. So, look, I think the only real option is Brooksy. I'm going to run on Dean Hawkins. I think he's a watch, but again, he's pretty expensive at 325k for a bloke who's coming in. There are some people that are pretty keen on Jamal Fogarty. Again, I think he's an avoid. 535k. He's got a break-even of 37. His average is 58, and the Raiders have absolutely walloped people. So 28 points last week he would have got if it wasn't for the goal kicking, and very similar to last week. He's made 20-something points in goal kicking the last 2 weeks, and I don't think the Raiders are going to flog everyone every week. But anyway, could be wrong. For those looking to go, Jack Cogger, 463k, give it a couple of weeks, massive break even of 71, so you can probably leave that for a couple of weeks, I would say. Now, in our 5'8 spot, this is just a sit and wait, really, with what we've got. Ethan Strange, everyone started with Ethan Strange. If you haven't got him, chuck him in either your CTW or your 5'8 position. Break even at -21, 45-point average, good little try last week. So he's an option that you should have in your team. If you don't, please buy him. Please buy him. He's going to make a stack of cash. The ones to watch are Max Plath and Lachlan Galvin, I believe. The good thing is we're going to get another look at Lachlan Galvin this week. So don't go early on him. But again, if you've got a 5'8", like I've got Flano sitting there, I think regardless of what Flano does, I hope he has a good game this week. But I'm probably going to look to offload him to a Max Plath or Lachlan Galvin. Again, we get another look at Lachie Galvin. Next week, Max Plath, he's going to be coming off the bench, I probably presume. But Wayne Bennett does some crazy things when teams win. So if he's got a lot of trust in Max Plath and he gets that lock roll over Ray Stone there, that'll be phenomenal for owners. If not, even coming off the bench, I think he's a good option. It'll just depend on how well Lachie Galvin scores, where I'll go there. One that I've got as a buy, I think is a decent option. Now, people have started with Ezra Mam. I think people who are looking to go to Ezra Mam, obviously I think Luke Brooks is the number one option. But if you're looking for value, Luke Metcalf, 483k, 4-point break even, 67-point average. Whether he's kicking goals or not, I'm not sure. He's a bit of a sharpshooter. He only missed the one last week against the Storm down there, so average of 67 points, scored a try in the first week, 63 last week. Obviously, that's bumped up with the goal kicking. I still haven't heard anything out of what's going on with Sean Johnson, why he doesn't have the goal kicking, but still, Luke Metcalf is every bit an option there, I believe. Yeah, like I said, Lukey Brooks, I think he's number one for that. If you're looking at another one, Tom Dearden at 592k, 37 break even, 66 average. He looks really good. He's being the dominant ball player now, which is what you obviously want to see because he's the captain there now. But yeah, other than that, there's not a great deal going on there for buys. There's a shitload of sells in that position, I tell you. But we'll get to that later. All right, our CTWs. Look, I think number one buy for your CTWs is probably Ronaldo Mulatalo. He's got a very, very easy draw. He's sitting at a -24 break even. If you were looking at Mulatalo, 627k, I think he's got an extremely easy run. That left-hand edge with him and Talakai is going bananas. Like I've said before, it's a bit of a Joey Leilua Rapana sort of vibe. So 102-point average, which is phenomenal. So I'm pretty keen on him. It's a luxury trade. If you can make it work, I'm fucking happy for you. I can't touch it because I've got dramas in my front row forward and my second row forward with Heelam Lukey and Sean Kepi. They need to go. But yeah, if you can afford him, absolutely, 100% run it. Now, there's another one here, Tame Tuapiki. He's been awesome the first two rounds. Break even of -21, 50-point average running in there against two quality opposition in the Sharks and Storm. Looked really good last week. I thought this will be a real test for the young kid coming up against Melbourne. Exceeded expectation. He looked really busy. He's got a massive step on him. He came out, I think he got interviewed and said his hero was Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. So that's really awesome that he gets to play with his hero, which is it's awesome to see that. But you can see that in his game where he's got a jinking jive sort of step, beats the first defender nearly every time. So Tuapiki, I think he's a good buy because of this Chance Nickel-Klokstad sort of drama that's going on now. He's having a lot of drama with his hamstrings leading up into his back. NRL physio came out and said that can be a massive issue for players if they're trying to come back from both of those injuries. It's got him out for another 2 or 3 weeks, Chance Nickel-Klokstad. So Tame Tuapiki is going to have at least 2 or 3 price rises. At 277k, easier oppositions are coming. They've got I'm going to say it, the Knights. The Knights are going to be a bit of an easy opposition this year. I don't think they're going to be what they were last year. They've got the Raiders at home. They've got the Knights at home in the next couple of weeks. If he can be available for those games, I think absolutely, without a doubt, he is a buy. Next up, Jesse Arthurs. 376k, break even of 2, 53-point average. He looks really good. The one thing I've been really impressed with him is his ability to get through a bit of grubby work. He never really had that last year coming in. I think the loss of Herbie Farnworth and Selwyn Cobbo going into the centres, I think Kevy's given him a bit of a nudge on the shoulder and said, righto mate, you've got to start stepping up and you've got to take some hard runs. Another good buy, if you didn't start with him, Taylor May, 458k, break even of 11, 60-point average, looks really good out on that left-hand edge. Needs to learn to pass the ball a little bit more, the big fella, but still, he looks really, really good. I can't fault him. I can't fault owners that wanted to jump on him. Another one, Selwyn Cobbo, 602k. Now, I think if you were going to jump on him, I think I'm probably going to wait a couple of weeks, but he looks phenomenal. A break-even of 25, 73-point average. He's had a bit of a tough draw to start with, and he's starting to the centres. He got bathed by Joey Manu, but he looks really good. I'm pretty keen on him, just from the eye test more than anything. But I think if you were going to go him, I cannot turn you against it. He looks phenomenal. All right, we'll run into our fullbacks. I think number one is obviously Pappenhausen. If he didn't have the round 4 bye, I'll be jumping all over him. 645k, that's massive from Pappenhausen. 22-point average, 22-point break even, 81-point average. Looks phenomenal. That knee and the ankle doesn't seem to be bothering him at all, which is good to see. He's got an easy draw against the Knights this week, but then he does have the bye. I'm sort of leaning against him just because with that bye, I've also got Harry Grant, and I don't want to have two superstars out at the one time. I'm a little bit nervous about that, especially how the season started to start. Another one I think is a good buy is James Tedesco, break even at 28. He has an 87-point average. He looks super busy. He had nearly 30 points in runs for the first week in Vegas, and then mid-20s last week, even though they had 0 ball. So, look, I'm keen on him. I think he's a good get if you can afford to get him in, or you want to trade down a gun like Pappenhausen, Ponga. If you don't think he's going to fire this year, I really like the look of him. Look, anyway, we'll go to the holds. Who I think the holds are. I think Danny Levi's a good hold in hooker. I think leave him for another week. If you've got him, keep him. I sort of think that I don't want to run him for round 4, so I'll be looking to get rid of Danny Levi round 4. Like I said, I'm pretty interested in Mitch Kenny. If Mitch Kenny can keep up 80 minutes, I'll be looking at him. If not, I think I still can go Danny Levi to Joey Lussick. I just can't afford to do it this week. The trades I'm thinking of doing can free up a bit of cash and should be able to run in through there. Look, our front row forwards, there's not a great deal going on in our front row forwards, to be honest. I don't really have a hold in our front row forwards. I think, front row forward this year has been a bit of a basket case, to be honest. So I just think you need to get Terrell May in. I think Terrell May has to come in there for the Roosters. Other than that, I think there's not a great deal going on there, to be honest. For the trade outs, I think Sean Keppie's a good option to trade out. He looks to be moved back to a bench in a 4-forward bench rotation. I'm all about getting rid of him. I probably can't get rid of him this week, so I'm going to let him ride on the bench. Hopefully he can still get 35, 40 minutes. Maybe jag a couple of offloads. That's why we bought him in the first place, was a couple of offloads. So we'll run with him. Traded out in our second row forwards. Helam Lukey, he's got to go. He has to go, Helam Lukey, the poor bugger. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks, so we'll be running with him out. Suo Wong, massive. Suo Wong, 462k. He didn't look too bad. I don't understand the Suo Wong one. I don't know what he did wrong. I don't have him, so I'm not threatened by it at all. But still, Suo Wong, he needs to go. Sorry, in the front row forwards, Pawasa Falmasili, he is probably a trade out as well. I'll be looking at getting rid of him. The way I construction my team is Falmasili out, Terrell May in. I'm thinking of going Ponga downgrade now. We'll get onto that a bit later. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. But also Brendan Hands in the hooker position. Sorry, we've skipped over a few here. But Brendan Hands in the hooker position, if you started with him, hoping that he would get some minutes, perfect trade to Joey Lussick. Brandon Smith as well. Look, I think if you started with Brandon Smith, I'd be selling. I'd be selling going down to Lussick. I think that's a good trade. Brandon Smith doesn't seem to be getting the minutes that others are getting, so I'm happy to go with him. But yeah, Suo Wong and Helam Lukey are the big ones for a trade out in our second row forward. For our halves, look, I think Mitch Moses. See, this is the tricky thing. This is why we started with Hines and Cleary, because Mitchell Moses, I didn't think he would start like this. I think if you've got Mitchell Moses, the only thing you can do is try and push him towards one of the guns there in Cleary and Hines, and I don't think you're going to be able to do that unless you can free up some cash from a fullback sell to a downgrade. Now, I understand that Hines and Cleary are going to lose a stack of cash. Mitch Moses potentially loses more. Could make it harder for you to get, so I'd be pushing that narrative. Get your guns in, although you could argue Mitch Moses has a very easy draw coming up. So, yeah, look, it is a tricky one. It is a tricky one there with our halfbacks. I just think we should have started with the guns. They're coming good, so just leave them, I think. In our 5'8" spot, Ezra Mam, 532k. He's got the Panthers this week. He's missing Adam Reynolds. Always going to be a thing with him. People got a little bit excited about his grand final performance. Hasn't really lived up to that. He's got 108 break even, 22-point average. So he needs to go. The options there are Brooksy, Dearden, anyone else. Anyone else there would be fine, I think. Who else have we got here? Now, Braden Trindle, 439k, dual halfback 5'8". I reckon he's a sell. Break even of 80, he's got to go. He looked very clunky. Doesn't seem to be getting quality ball. Even some of the ball that he's getting, he's knocking it on out of nowhere. He looks very clunky. I'd be looking at flicking him. Another one is Luke Keary, 5'8", halfback, 550k. You can probably get rid of him. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. Very unfortunate with the head knocks there. He seems to he can't take a trick with his head knocks. The Roosters have a very cautious approach, so if you started with him, we can get rid of him. Jaden Sullivan, he is a sell. Other than that, there is not much going on in the 5'8". There is a couple of spot fires to put out, but that's about it. Now, in our CTWs, Greg Marzu is a sell, 119k, 119 break even. He's got a wrist injury. He seems to have screws put in that, so he is gone. He is out of our side. 789k. The good thing about that is you can do a lot with it. Now, who you go down to is probably a Mulatalo. That'd be your best bet. But there wasn't a great deal of people that started with him anyway, so I'm happy to see that. But yeah, he's probably the big one there as a sell. Other than that, I want to watch Joey Manu. I don't know what happened last week. They didn't get a lot of ball, but he was very disinterested. There was a lot of talk about last year him being disinterested. 652k. He's got a break even of 58. I'm just a little worried about him, to be honest. I want to watch him for another week. Get to see how he is looking. But yeah, other than that, there isn't a great deal. Brian Tyer's got a massive break even. I wouldn't be selling him. He seemed to move over to that left edge at some stage as well. I'd be keeping him. But yeah, if you jumped on Stephen Crichton, not a lot of people talked about him. Not a lot of people jumped on him, but he has 105 break even. I would be flicking him for sure. The big one, our fullbacks, Kalen Ponga, 892k. Break even of 159, average of 48 at the moment. Look, I'm an owner. I'm seriously thinking about jumping out. Now, I'm going to have a bit of a dive into Ponga, but his average of last year was absolutely off its head. Now, last year we know that the Knights absolutely brained it. He had an average of 87. That was coming off a slow start of the year where he started in 5'8". But he saw it from that. He was averaging over 100 points with the goal-kicking duties. He was an out-and-out buy. The reason everyone sort of got on him is because he was 550k at that stage and he looked really, really good. But just looking at some of his averages from the past years, so the Knights were firing, he was firing. They looked to be really good. They obviously got that 10 wins in a row. His average score from 2022 was 50. His average score from 2021 was 68. His average score from 2020 was 79, which was really good. But still, the amount of games where he went over 100, in that year that he had an 80-point average, he only went over 100 once. in those games, he got over 150. So he has got it in him to go off his head. But predominantly his scores here are all 60s, 70s, 60, 19, 38, 66, 70s sort of thing. In that year where he's had his highest average score, second highest average score. The games last year, phenomenal. He brained it, he killed it. We know what he did last year, but the Knights were firing. I don't like what they're doing here with all their halves combinations. Adam O'Brien's put a lot of pressure on them. They've also lost Greg Marzu. Look, I don't know what's going on with the Knights. I don't know what's going on with the Knights at all. They look really clunky, really disjointed. The fact that that's happening when the Knights are doing poor, Kalen Ponga, even if he's going well and he can have these massive games, he still doesn't seem to be a player that really can go absolutely bonkers consistently. Now, he might versus the Dragons go 160, and then he might play someone mediocre. There's a couple of times they went up with the Gold Coast to versus the Titans. No offense to Titans fans, but they are a bit of an easier draw, and he gets 40. Like, there's a lot of argument in that. He's going to lose a stack of cash. If you could trade him in for a Tedesco or a Pappenhausen, I'm thinking of doing it just because I've got dramas in my front row and dramas in my second row. If people are saying do not trade out these guns, but if it works in the benefit to your team and you think it's going to work, look, he's going to lose cash. Teddy and Pappenhausen, they're gaining cash. It is all about what suits your team and what you think is best. Now, what I think is best is I am a Knights supporter, so even if he goes well, I'll still be cheering on for him. But I just think, Supercoach-wise, I'm just not 100% sold on him at the moment, and I don't think he's going to have the uptick that he's had the last year, that he'll have this year, purely based on the fact that I don't think the Knights are going to go as well. They're not going to have a 10-game winning streak. They're not going to I can't see them putting 60 points on them. They just look so disjointed. Cogger, I thought, was a fantastic signing, but it looks now like Cogger coming in. Look, Cogger played 20 minutes in a grand final. He did play good, but the person who played amazing in that was Cleary. I don't know if people are talking that up a little bit too much. Played all right in the trials, kicked the 40-20, scored a try against the Sharkies, but other than that, I don't know if he is this superstar that people think he is. I hope I'm wrong. I fucking hope I'm wrong. But anyway, we'll see what happens there. Look, other than that, that's just a quick little run around for our teams, see what happens there. Apart from Kalen Ponga in fullback, I don't think there's a great need to sell anyone. Scotty Drinkwater's got a break-even of 132. He's different. He looks good. 851. He's got St George this week. He could bust the 100. He could get the 132 break-even easy. If you've got Drinkwater, I'd be keeping him. I'd be leaving him in there. Do not stress. Tommy Trbojevic got a break-even 102. Another big one against Parramatta. They're a bit leaky. Penrith sort of sorted them out. I think Penrith should have scored more points against them. So Tommy Trbojevic, keep him in your sides. He'll go well. There is one there. I don't know how many people have jumped on him, but Alexander Brimson has got the CTW fullback, but we'll just run through him. I think if you've gone him hoping that he was going to be this grand roaming centre, I don't think it's going to work. I would be jumping off him. Reece Walsh, I'll jump into him. Do not sell Reece Walsh. I'll be holding Reece Walsh. He looks really good. Now he's got the goal kicking. There just is a bit of something we've got to watch with Adam Reynolds being out. That'll be one to watch. Very interesting to see what happens there. Look, other than that, that's just a quick little dive. Yeah, Tedesco and Pappenhausen, good buys, I think, this week if you're looking to make a bit of cash. Always an option. Teddy, and I know bad year last year, but still, he's a superstar. They've got a really good side at the Roosters. I think he'll be match proof. He's got 30 points in runs, 26 points in runs, sort of thing. So his base is still there, which is really good. But yeah, anyway, that'll probably do us. We'll do a shortened buy, hold, sell on our Instagram. If you want to have a look at that, that'll be our top 3 buys, hold, and sells for there. But that's just a bit of a dive through. Hopefully, I knocked over a couple of questions that people have got. And yeah, we'll run from there, guys. Cheers. Take care, legends.